Hello, everybody. It is GodMode, the podcast where Evan and Shane talk about video game related topics. And I'm excited about today's topic because we've actually talked about it at great length before it even came out with another controversy. But it's a new year and a new controversy. But first, we need to ask Evan how he's doing because he's going to be a father soon, and that's exciting and frightening all at the same time.
That's true, and that's why I have so much to say about video games. I really truly believe, Shane, that this global pandemic has caused me to reevaluate my priorities and realize that what's truly important in life is playing and talking about video games. And so I've decided to dedicate more time to that.
You know, priorities, man. You got to get your priorities straight. Have you guys picked a name?
We have.
And what is that name going to be?
You are not privy to that information. We do when you go to have a kid. There's a subject that everyone has an opinion on, and it's the name. So if you do it too early, and actually my wife, one of my wife's friends got burned because they picked out a name for their kid and they told somebody that went and had a kid and named it that before I know.
Sons of bitches.
So we can take away all possibility of that. You're my friend, so I can tell you that we've already picked it out, but we're choosing not to. Everyone else were like,
that's what,
still thinking of a name, and they can be none the wiser. But we have one, we're sitting on it, and when the baby's born, that's just what the name's going to be. No one's going to tell us, oh, that was the name of my uncle who was a serial killer. That's not going to happen to us. We've made decisions.
That's our friends did the same thing. They just had a baby. She had him last night, and it went smoothly. Everyone's fine, and they're back home, and they're enjoying their new son. And it's exciting. It's super. Yes. It's awesome. It's super cool. And so, you know what's not awesome? Here's a good segue. Apparently, Cyberpunk 2077 is not very awesome.
Well,
at least the PS4,
it has a name.
The PS4 and the Xbox One. And
that's what I'm playing it on, right? I'm playing it on my PS4 Slim, not Pro, mind you.
Not
so
the
I get
version.
I get everything. I get all the glitches, all the crashes. I get it all.
So you actually have it. So you've been playing it for a while. How many hours have you put into it? What's your thoughts?
That's right. I play it during work. So let's keep that on the down. Let's keep that
Make sure your work doesn't see this.
Between us, okay? During meetings, sometimes they're boring, so I go back and forth. But I've been playing it a lot, and I think I've been playing it proportionally a lot compared to how I feel about it. Because how I feel about it doesn't have anything at all to do with any glitches or any graphical qualms.
Oh, so you're talking about the actual substance of the game, which is what people weren't concerned with at all.
I don't think that people have gotten there yet. It's weird that there's this kind of like bandwagon. First of all, we're just diving right in. That's probably the shortest intro that we've had in one of these.
Well, I don't have a lot of time tonight. I have about an hour and a half, maybe.
Okay, well, I'll try not to divert too much, but like there have been these bandwagons, and so you'll see in the media. Obviously, this is a unique game because it's a COVID game. And everybody's sitting around and they have time to talk about it and they have time to think about it and get hyped about it. And so in the beginning, there was this big hype bandwagon and it was going to be the be all end all greatest game ever, even to the point where if you were a viewer and you got your hands on it, it didn't matter. You were going to love it. Right. And then there was this other bandwagon, oh my goodness, there's so many glitches in the game. Right. Which I can't believe we pressured CD Projekt Red to release it so early because now, it's got all these glitches in it and stuff, and it's an unfinished game, right? The following bandwagon after that was, you know what? It's got glitches, but I'm still having fun. It's still a very fun game, and here it is, a COVID game, and since, 70% of the game is there, that's better than nothing. I think there's going to be another bandwagon, and I think everybody's going to come around to my perspective, which is even if the glitches were gone and this game were finished, some aspects of it still suck. And then patching and taking the glitches away won't actually fix that. So we can we can write that on a piece of paper and with the date and time. And I bet you that that's going to be the next thing that everybody kind of slowly realizes too. They'll fix the glitches, they'll fix the bugs, but the combat's going to be the same, and the car play in the game is going to be the same, and the dialogue, the disappointing dialogue and lack of choices is going to be the same.
Dude, so you said you're not a fan of the combat.
Yeah, although I will say that it was worse in the beginning. The game kind of it's kind of like Fallout New Vegas, where they make you so bad at the very beginning that you have to put some points just to so your character knows how to hold a gun with the pointy end pointing towards like the enemies. Like that's, you start out with none of the stuff that makes combat fun, like the cybernetic enhancements, the kind of like hacking, right, or stealth.
I feel like we're switching places. You're complaining about things that I usually complain about.
Well, that's the thing, is that like first person shooter, like it, the kind of recurring theme with Cyberpunk is it tried to be as good as these other games, and it felt, it's not as good at cars as Grand Theft Auto, right, or Saints Row. It's not as good at stealth as some like dedicated stealth games. And it's not as good, like the combat, any first person shooter is better, kind of like this is more RPG combat. And I mean that in like a bad way, that it's like, oh, this is combat made by people that make RPGs. So you start out bad, and then as the RPG progresses, you get perks and abilities that make it kind of like malleable. I'll give you one example that I was a really kind of like the kind of crushing for me, and that is the game doesn't give you any way to indicate before you start a mission how well suited how well suited that mission is for your level. So a lot of times I
Ah,
end up going up against like enemies that are way I'm just not ready for. They're one hit kills every time they hit me, and they just soak up all of my bullets. There was one encounter I remember where I was with one of the characters, and she was like, "We should go do this." I'm like, "Okay," and we're gonna go and kill people. But she drives her car right into where they are, so there's no stealth, there's no hacking. You don't get a myriad of choices to like deal with what's happening. She just throws me into this situation where I have to take on like 15 dudes that I'm not at all even close to being ready for. So that's when I died a lot. I died like 20 times. I tried to figure out, I was like, this is where I'll get good at the combat. I tried a bunch of different tactics. I ended up reducing the difficulty level. It didn't matter. Like no one had warned me that they were this good. So I died all these times, right? Again, you know, take all the choices away, no stealth, no tactics. You just trade fire against enemies that have no business hitting you but continually do.
yeah,
And
but
then
it sounds like in that situation, like you would want a Call of Duty sort of game where, it's not an RPG per se. I mean, I guess online it's sort of an RPG and you gain stuff, but like, in the base game, it's like, these are your skills that you can learn. They're a little hard, but you can do it,
well,
and
it's weird because you get better at a first person shooter means you get better at moving in my case, I'm playing on a console, aiming, right?
yeah.
You get better at aiming as it goes. Even first person like RPGs that do it well, like Borderlands, for example, have
Mhm.
a skull and crossbones over the enemies that you need to stay away from. And that's part of the game, is like staying away from there. But
Right.
like that,
That makes
I
sense.
had to rewind about 8 autosaves to get out of that situation. And so the girl asked me again, should we go do this? And this time I'm like, no. And I don't have any option to be like, I have to say no because I suck. I don't have any weapons that can kill the people that we're about to go against. And now I can't have sex with this character anymore. And
And
so now you
that
know
does
why I'm
suck
really
because
mad.
yeah, that sucks because that takes away from what they were promoting this entire time, which was the value of what your choices are going to be and how what a true RPG was. Like, Dungeons and Dragons, the very advent of the RPG, was about choice and freedom,
Yes.
and there's a mission in front of you. How do you do it? And there's all these different sort of options that you have to finish the mission, because it's a board game and you can do whatever you want. And as that,
Yes.
and that's what they were hoping to do. That's what they were kind of promoting, is like, your choices matter in this world. And
It's not that, Shane. It's really not like that. And that's what sucks so much, because we have like we had our hopes built up because these were the people that made The Witcher, right? With all of the best choice system, the most moral ambiguity. There's a lot of times in this game where like my choices are either like say yes or say yes sarcastically. Like that's the wide ranging options that I get. Or I'm asked to make a story altering decision about somebody that I met 5 seconds ago. I don't have any frame of reference. All of these characters are carbon copies of each other. All the people that give you missions are the same, and you are never influencing the world. As far as like missions go, it's more like Grand Theft Auto. So you're never influencing the world with your decisions as much as the mission givers are influencing you by dragging you by the ear from place to place. There was another dialogue option. Somebody was like, "Hey, would you think maybe you're going to work for me later?" And I'm actually in this game, I'm role playing a badass, which is another thing that makes me mad because I never have the opportunity to be a badass. Even one of the choice, like, somebody tries to brain dance for the first time, and they're like, "How did it feel?" And my options are, "It really hurt a lot, ow," or "Wow, that hurt." Like, those are the two things I can say. There's no option that's like, "I'm playing a video game. I didn't feel anything. I'm fine. I'm actually okay." So in this case, right, this girl is talking to me. She goes, "So you maybe want to work for me sometime?" And the dialogue says, the thing that I get to click on says, "Maybe ... right? So I'm thinking, I'm like, I'm going to be a cowboy here, and I'm going to be like, "Maybe I'll work for you, and maybe I won't." So I click on maybe, and my character goes, "Well, golly gee willikers, I'd love to work for you. Oh, I'll work for you whenever you want to. That'd be great." It makes it really hard to be a badass in that situation when my character whines so much and complains all the time. It's not Geralt of Rivia, I'll tell you that much. And the choice system is not The Witcher. And there's no character that is as fleshed out and three-dimensional as the Bloody Baron. And there's no side mission that's as cool as the werewolf side mission. It's not there, Shane. It's just not there.
damn.
Yeah.
That's disappointing to hear. And I mean, and maybe that's, man, you got to feel for CD Projekt Red, because, or a person or a company or whatever that does something so great that literally changes the map of whatever art form that they're in. It's like a musician. We actually had a bunch of analogies the last time we talked about this game. And and I picture CD Projekt like, like an artist, like a musician that's just fucking amazing, and they brought out this big album, and this album was amazing, and it changed the face of music forever. And so then they do a Chinese, what is that what is Guns N' Roses' horrible album that took 20 years to make? It's
Oh,
called
yeah.
Chinese Love Connection or something.
Yeah, it's something weird.
And it came out, it was like everyone was
Oh,
waiting for this album, and it finally came out, and like, what is this dog turd? What the hell is this? And
your job, when you reach that high, your job is to prove to everyone the next time that you knew why it was so good. And in CD Projekt Red's case, the only thing that they had to get right was that choice system, and was that like that, because that's what makes The Witcher so much more special than other options. Another thing The Witcher has that this one doesn't, by the way, this one doesn't have like an overarching mission that's like like Find Siri is a mission, right? It's
and
like
also too, it's not based on any, like, it's not based on a book. With The Witcher, they had,
so I guess they had to write it, yeah.
yeah, they had to write all these different scenarios, instead of in The Witcher, there's only a few. You have your characters, how they really are. I mean, you can mess with them and how they respond to NPCs and everything, but Geralt of Rivia is basically Geralt of Rivia. Like, no matter what he does, even if he's being a nice guy, he's doing it in a badass way.
Yes,
There,
yes.
there's no,
I
there's no
like
like,
that.
golly gee willikers, let's go. There's none of
It's
that. It's
it's
just like,
okay
I'm
to have
fucking
that.
Geralt of Rivia and I can
There
do what the
was
fuck I
there,
want.
speaking of not badass lines, I just remembered another one is when somebody that you like, the character is talking on the phone and they're like really pissed off about something and they hang up. We're talking about like gangsters that kill each other, right? These are people that kill each other. She hangs up the phone and my option to say is like, man, I'd be mad too, right? And this is what she actually says when I clicked on I'd be mad too. She goes, man, if it would have been me, I would have given them an earful. An earful. An earful.
What? Come on
Oh
now.
my goodness. An
You can't have
earful.
that. You can't, like, dude,
You got enemies calling you the C word, and I say the earful, I would give them an earful. Come on. I can't
wow.
I
I'm actually, I did not think that this episode, this is going to go this direction. I thought you were going to come in and I was going to say, hey, there's a bunch of graphical issues which we'll talk about in a second, and then you come out and I figured you'd come on the podcast and be like, the game is great otherwise, and it's got all the, the substance is there. It's just that they need to fix a few things. But here you are, you come in and you go, dude, I don't even know if I'm pretty sure the substance isn't there.
I keep looking for it, and I keep hoping for it to be there. You know what part of it is, Shane? I'll give you a hint. The same day that I ordered two games, different times, and then they came at the same day. Cyberpunk came on the same day that Ghost of Tsushima came. This PlayStation 4 game, I don't know if you know anything about it. Um, really,
I've beat
really
it.
good.
I've played it and beat it twice.
Okay,
The
okay,
game
good.
is incredible. It should have been the game of the year, not Last of Us 2. It's incredible.
I was gonna tell you to get it, and I'm so glad that you said that. But this is a game that gets the fundamentals right. There are like, there's like only, there's like less than 10 things that you can do in that game, but they give you opportunities to string them together in unique ways. And it also reminded me of one of my all-time favorite games, which is Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War. Uh, the stealth, in those games they picked sword, stealth, arrows, and they're really seamlessly just whenever you get tired of one, go to the other, and it's still fun. And
Mm-hmm.
the stealth in that game was amazing. Ghost of Tsushima, that
Tsushima.
game Ghost was really really fun for stealth reasons, but it taught me that like you have to get certain things right. Before you go off and you're like, I'm gonna compete with Grand Theft Auto, you should sit and make sure your combat is really fun, right? Do you get what I mean?
Oh, dude,
Before,
I'm with you.
yeah,
I'm with
yeah.
you. Like, it's my problem with Fallen Order. They got everything right except for that fucking combat system where I'm just like, dude, like, I ain't got all day to learn your very, very particular brand of combat. It's like, this isn't fun. Now, a lot of Dark Souls players love it because they're the sadists out there that love pain and they just want to just die over and over and over again. And they just like, that's how we learn. It's like, it reminds me of like a really strict coach in football. It's like, bro, this is high school. Like, we're, we're juniors.
This is a video game. Like I just got to work. Someone's yelling at me all day at work, and now you want to like hurt me until I get good. I actually work with a guy that is one of those sadists, like you mentioned. Every time he gets a game, he sets it on the hardest difficulty. Like, so you can imagine playing Ghost of Tsushima on the hardest difficulty without knowing anything about the game. And even on medium, it's like two hits and you're dead, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
you really have to get a rhythm, right? Uh,
But the rhythm is
they're
is
out
is
there.
is the rhythm. See, what's great about we're veering here, but I'm going to say this one thing about like Ghost, and the reason why that combat is similar to like sort of the same sort of idea what Dark Souls is, but they give the player enough reps. Number one, enough repetition of the combat. You encounter Mongols all the time,
Yeah.
and also it's not as strict. Like when you get hit, and you're like, oh crap, I gotta get back on my game. But in Fallen Order, Dark Souls, if you get hit, it's like
You don't even
And
get
then
practice. You don't get any more practice to be better, right? Yeah.
yeah, it's and a lot of people like that because it's back to Castlevania 1 days where it's like the hardest game ever but still enjoyable to play. But
And
anyway, let's go back to
oh, sorry.
so
Yeah.
we talked about the substance of it, but right now it's not the substance and that probably will come later once people start, they'll find another controversy about the game, which is the graphical quality and everything that's going wrong with the base level PS4 and Xbox One versions. And my thought was, okay, well, so number one, like, I'm not a developer. Okay, you're not a developer. I don't know anything about developing video games. That's just duh, right? But I always was of the understanding that developers prefer to make first person games because it's easier to develop on, and they can focus on other things rather instead of also focusing on the animations of the main character too in the third person perspective. And so
Is
and
this your
also
secret way to get to your vendetta about first person games?
no, that's
Now,
one of them.
you want
That's
to get
one
me
of them.
on record saying that there's anything negative at all about first person?
No, I just find it ironic that, for a game that is touted, about its first person qualities, and it's like even they would even, after they officially won the argument, when they released the gameplay footage of the first gameplay footage ever, and said, "See, did we tell you that first person is amazing? Look how great this looks. This is amazing." And then it comes out on PS4 and Xbox One, at least, and looks like absolute dog shit. And it's not what they promoted in the marketing, which is another big reason why there's controversy, because they marketed it with PC game footage only. And so any game that's with PC game footage, of course it's going to look best. It's going to, because it has the most high technology, used to make that footage. And people didn't know what the PS4 or the Xbox One looked like at all. And so it's a little shady on their part for a company that, has built all this goodwill, with The Witcher 3 and the free DLCs. And to be completely fair, it's probably coming for CD Projekt Red too, as an apology for what's going on. I have no, I have total faith that they're going to right the ship eventually, but still it's kind of like, bro, like
Well, I'll say a couple things about that. One, if we don't understand by now that the trailers don't look like the games, and that's just not a thing that's been a thing for a long time, I don't know what hope there is for us, right? The Tinder profile picture doesn't look like the girl. The trailer doesn't look like the game, and there's so many examples of this. Uh, and it also, in sympathy for the developers, they started the game for one platform and then new ones came out and they had to like upscale, right, which is really, really difficult to do.
Wait, what'd you say they had to make it for? Say that again. You were
Like
cutting.
when they started creating the game, which was like in 6 BC or something.
It was 8 years ago. It was nearly a decade ago.
They made it for a generation of consoles.
Mm-hmm.
And then as they were making the game and realized that they weren't going to finish it, a new set of consoles, a new generation of consoles came out. So now you have a half-finished game that you've made for one set of hardware that now you're like, everybody's going to judge us by the standards of the new hardware, so we have to go over and upscale everything.
Yeah, I actually had
necessarily what you should do, but
I mean, yeah, that's what actually was one of my biggest fears of Cyberpunk coming right at the release of a new console. But here's the thing about that though, it's like even I've heard there's problems on the PS5 version as well. Because basically you're playing, you're truth be told, you're actually playing the PS4 version of the game on the PS5, according to CD Projekt Red.
We should feel lucky that there's a PS4 version at all, right?
So yeah, and that was my other question. It's like, did they, they probably started at PS4, and then as as the PS5 started looming, they started, adding stuff. I don't know, like, or did they know that they were going to release it for PC and make a PC game and then start subtracting things to make it work for the consoles? I don't know. I'm not a developer, but something went wrong. Something went very terribly wrong.
Something went wrong.
So
That's a
I
good,
actually want to share my screen here. Let me do this here. Give me 1 second. Oops. Give me 1 second. Oh, no. I
This
thought I
is
had
every meeting at work.
Yeah, this is every meeting at work.
Nope,
So
I raised my hand. I didn't.
so yeah, let's go to, here we go. We're going to share. Here we are. All right. So dude, this is a meme, but this is hilarious. Check this shit out.
I have seen that. I can't wait. Okay. This is going to be good. All of a sudden, you're on the Half-Life at the beginning of Half-Life 1.
It crashes. That's so good.
Oh man!
But dude, it's like there's so many things. Like, okay, look at this. I'm sure you've seen this. Look, I mean,
you're just showing me the game, dog. I have a PS4. This is what I this is what I think the game looks like.
Look at that, dude.
Yep.
And then
potato face. That's what I call that guy. Yeah, that one's pretty bad,
dude. I mean, it's man. It is all that. That is no joke.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. But I maybe, like, I remember thinking right before it came out, when people were like, "Oh, I can't wait to play it on the PS5," and somebody's like, "I only have a PS4," crying face. And in my mind, I'm like, I've played Horizon Zero Dawn. I know what games look like on the PS4. We're gonna be fine.
Yeah. That's another big thing that, a lot of people were, be like, hey, of course it's going to look bad on the PS4 and Xbox One. You should just, get a PC or get Xbox Series X, you idiots. And I'm like, bro, have you played Red Dead Redemption on PS4? That game is beautiful.
Good.
That game is one of the most impressive video game anything.
Their pupils dilate in dark to light. Okay?
Dude, like,
there's a lot of stuff like that.
Don't sit here and tell me that it's impossible to make a very impressive game on the PS4, because you're a liar.
Yeah.
If that's the case. Now you can't be too ambitious, which is what I think happened here. I think
to their credit, like, as far as ambitious goes, the game world and kind of the atmosphere, even though for some reason the only radio station plays oldies from 2020, I don't know what that's all about, instead of future music, they do a lot of, like, not predictions, but like, this is what the world is like, and you're like, huh, that is what the world will be like if we continue down this trajectory, which is cool. Also, best alleyways in a game that I've ever seen, by far. You spend so much time in between the streets that they made they have like food vendors that you walk past and you're like, that smells, I can smell that. That's awesome. Like, the alleyways are super immersive.
Dude, I mean, I will
Alleyways,
probably eventually,
3 stars.
I will probably eventually buy it eventually when I get a PlayStation 5 and play it on there. I'll in all the bugs and everything. Once the game is in condition to play it, so I can actually experience what the developers truly wanted me to experience, then I will give my first person brain another shot. But throw a whole bunch of bugs in the mix, and I'm kind of like, I don't think I really am going to enjoy this game very much.
I don't know that you're gonna like it, Shane, and I'm telling you this because I would definitely recommend Ghost of Tsushima. It's like right up your alley kind of game.
That's one of my favorite games. Man, what a great freaking game! And it's a game that doesn't try to be anything else other than, hey, it's cool, samurais, and you know what else is cool, Akira Kurosawa. And
they were right. I actually watched Seven Samurai, and it inspired me to go get the game. That's how much I wanted to be in a Kurosawa movie.
It's great.
if you play it, you're going to need a motorcycle, and I think that'll make you feel a little bit more third person-y. The first person-y, you must be in my head, Shane, because I'm playing it. I'm like, oh, Shane wouldn't have liked that just now. I'm definitely in first person, and it would have been better if I wasn't
Dude, it
in
drives me
that
crazy because like
scenario.
dude, I saw in the gameplay trailer like, you're using a sword, and I'm like, what's not fun in in first person mode in video games? Melee
Clicking
combat.
this over and over.
And I think the only game that got close to making a combat system that was, truly first person and unique in that perspective was, oh crap, what was that medieval game that came out that was on Kickstarter for the longest time and then it came out, but it's a
Oh,
medieval RPG. It's the realistic medieval RPG that's, got some decent reviews, but the actual combat is very involved, because it's all melee and, shooting arrows and stuff, and it's all first person, you know, and a lot of people actually do enjoy the combat, although I probably would hate it. I just think it's like, bro, and then I saw, I would just, for shits and giggles, I was on the Googles and I Googled on is there any mods? So the game just came out, so I'm sure people who are modders are just like, as soon as the game came out, it's like, can I mod this? And I'm sure a third person perspective mod is there, and sure enough, there's a couple.
Shane, they're pretty devoted to making the underwear come off of the character in and being nude for all of the entire game. That's like the modder's quest
That's actually
right now.
that's one of the graphical issues is the penises are coming out of the clothes.
The modders are adding more penises and more clothes. So that'll be just really fun. But you're not going
Again,
to get a third person for a while,
I know. I just,
unless it's a sex mod.
I just find the people who are really all about the first person thing. It's just like, I've seen, now look, I've seen all the gameplay footage and I'm like, y'all, this is a first person shooter.
Yeah.
This isn't like, the only thing that makes this an RPG is the attributes and all that other stuff. But
Hey, you
yeah,
can go third person for vehicles, and if you couldn't, like, I don't know. I think I know how you feel when I try to drive a vehicle in a game in first person. I'm like, must be what Shane feels like all the time when he's trying to navigate this. But they might have been going for the role playing aspect, like the character is you. It's not someone you're watching, it's you.
if that's the case, then why voice the character?
Because it's you, Shane. It's you.
If
What do
it's
you mean,
me,
why
let it be
voice the
me.
character? You
Let
want
it
to
be me.
talk? You want the mic to work and you talk to the screen? Is that what
Dude,
you want to
I'll
have
do that.
happen?
I'll do
Oh
that
my,
right now. Like, people stream all the time, and people talk, because people talk and they do the thing on the stream because it's weird when they don't. And so people will, there's like dialogue, and then we'll speak the dialogue, and
no, I
sometimes they'll
mean,
get a little into it,
I'm asking like voice recognition software being
Oh,
what it is in the state that it is. You want for there to be no dialogue coming out of your character's mouth. You want to talk and be like, well, let me tell you, maybe dot dot dot. You
dude,
maybe not.
imagine
I do
like
not recognize your answer. You were only given two choices.
I'm telling you, eventually that will happen. Eventually they'll put in some sort of technology where that can happen. That's not for the near future, of course,
We're a
but
ways.
like,
I'm actually really surprised that we've made so much more improvements in computer vision than we have in audio recognition.
yeah. I mean, because like, again, it's I get the whole role playing thing. Like, I'm all about that. I play role playing games all the time. That's like my main squeeze, and I get that. And it's like but again, that flies in the face of like everything else. And
It flies in the face directly at you because it's in first person.
yeah, yeah.
They
And
the one thing I can remember that I really liked, and this was a good like choices system. I had to go and make this shady deal in the gang headquarters, right? And I had diplomatic options. I had stuff there that I could offer to get out of there without any violence. But when I got there, the person was rude to me. So I killed everyone. And I had the option to kill everyone in an epic way. And so that's like ideal. That's what you're going for, is like you've set things up to where you can have some choices, once you get there and stuff. Those are few and far between, those moments.
Man, I was just I
I was disappointed too. I was.
that's just crazy to me. That is uh what's funny is I had the same experience what people are experiencing now on the PS4, and it being a buggy mess, and it's a big huge game. I had the same experience when Dragon Age Inquisition came out, because it came
I
out
remember that
like
game.
right around the time the PS4 came out. And so they made two versions. One was the Xbox 360 and PS3 version, and then the PS4 version. I got the 360 because I didn't have a PS4 at the time. So I got the 360 version and I played it, and it played like absolute garbage. It was an awful experience, and it was a game I was excited to play because I love Dragon Age, and it just in combat, it comes out and it just like frame rate drops and just everything. It's causing glitches everywhere. It was unplayable, and so I took it back, got a PS4, got the PS4 version, and it ran like a dream. It was like, this is what the game was supposed to be, and so I'm worried that the version on the PS4 and Xbox One will actually never play good, because at that point it's all going to be about the PS5, and and if you bought it on PS4, that's tough titties, man. You're going to have to get a PS5 version or an
The
Xbox.
games that we get
Series
excited
X.
about are the ones that we buy and play before they get patched and before they get, that's it really burns me that people don't make and release a game that's finished anymore. Like that's just not the industry standard anymore. It's
The
like,
only company that did that recently that surprised the hell out of me was Square Enix with
really,
Final Fantasy VII Remake. They didn't release a patch. I mean, they might have had a day one patch,
but that game
but
was already made. If any glitches happen, you could just revert to the old Final Fantasy VII.
no, but I popped it in, and I might have put like the day one patch in there. I can't even remember if I did, and it played fine the entire game. Like no glitches, no like problems, and then had a good amount of development time. People were talking about that game for years, and I was expecting it, to not blow my socks off as much as it did. It sure did. It blew my socks off. I love that game. And I was surprised that they didn't have to like, here's some, updates, but there wasn't any for like 3 months or something. It was crazy. And it played perfectly the whole time.
I don't know how, like, I mean, we've all had jobs, and so we know like what happens when a good idea has death by committee, or a good idea like takes a turn for a dumb reason, and nobody gets to know that like later and stuff. But it's weird sometimes. I heard another commentator talk about how it's weird how loyal we are to game studios, because 10 years later there's nobody at that studio that still works there that was that was there during the game that you liked, right? They may
Right.
have one designer and one art director, and that's it. And so it's almost like being a fan of a football team because they won the Super Bowl 10 years ago. Well, none of those players are there, right? Like none of that talent is there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say that, I can say for me, like I'm a big fan of Knights of the Old Republic. I think that game and how they set it up, the world and everything was, perfect and groundbreaking, to tell you the absolute truth. And the reason why I want a KOTOR 3 is because the ground has already been made. The ground is paved for you. You have the groundwork. You have KOTOR 1, KOTOR 2. Now do that, but just upscale it, make it look pretty,
It just doesn't work like that. Like
I know.
somebody starts out with that as an idea. They're like, we're not going to change anything. The core gameplay is still going to be there. And then somebody comes along and is like, well, racing missions are really popular.
I know.
And
That's the
that's
problem.
always what happens, isn't
and
it?
and that's what we thought CD Projekt Red would be immune from, but I guess inevitably this will always happen to even the greatest of companies where, it first starts off as an artistic venture that is nothing, that is nothing but for the purpose of fun and a great idea, and there's so much inspiration behind it, and there's energy, and it's all for the love of the art form. And then over time it becomes, you get investors, and then they have says because they're the one giving you the money, and then it's like, oh, and
Some stakeholders, yeah.
stakeholders and
All
all
those
that.
people that like used to be, those investors used to be so old they didn't even play video games, so they didn't have an opinion. And now people are growing into that role that do have an opinion and do need to have, their voices heard. But a AAA game now, make no mistake, like there was like 8 people that made Doom, right? The
Hmm.
original Doom.
Yeah.
And now you beat Mario and you have to sit there for like 16 minutes while every single name in the phone book goes by because it's such a it has to be like there's a guy that made the blades of grass really well. They call him Grass Man. And when you play a game like, for example, Breath of the Wild, you get a sense of scale to the point where you stop and go, wait a second, how did anyone make this? How did anyone make something so big? And the answer is Grassman. Grassman was working around the clock, and here's Tree Man. But at the last second, the guy that makes it so the character rolls didn't get together with the guy that makes the walls, and so he rolls, and all of a sudden he's on the other side of the wall, and that's a glitch, right? And
Hmm.
those things are going to be there when you have so many hands. I had always
It
heard
might be.
like so many cooks in the kitchen, but today my coworker said there's too many hands in the pie, and I'm like, I've never, no one says hands in the pie. That's disgusting. There should be 0 hands in the pie. Too
Use
many hands.
utensils, you savage.
I know, 1 hand is too many in the pie. Go ahead.
But yeah, too many, and that might be an issue. It might be that again, they realized that they hit a home run with The Witcher 3. They got the TV show, and the fan base is all behind their back, and they're like, we can do no wrong. And so we hired a whole bunch of
Henry
other.
Cavill. Did you like the show, by the way?
I love Henry Cavill's portrayal
As
of
the
Geralt.
Witcher. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I think he knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Now, the actual direction of the story, I could follow it kind of because I know the Witcher story and the world and the people and all that stuff. But I had to explain it to my wife all the time because what they did was they told 3 different stories simultaneously, and also they
In
messed
different
in
eras.
different eras.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
that's a poor choice when you're trying to introduce, a giant world that's like Game of Thrones level.
Yeah, I think Game of Thrones concurrent with that kind of hurt it because a lot of people thought it was going to be another Game of Thrones, and it wasn't. It was like a kind of a unique way to tell a story, and they really had to like you had to make it to like episode 7 to realize that that time thing was even like a part of it and stuff.
Yeah, so I think that was
But
a
it was
mistake,
still
but
cool.
other than that, I liked it. I was
Yeah.
like, this is a good, good step. Like
Yeah. The
I was
real Game of Thrones
entertained.
got really shitty right around that point, so that didn't hurt.
So, now that we are kind of on track now, like, okay, this is the
Yeah.
real time now. Like, okay, no more time traveling. Are we good now? We're not in
Yeah.
an episode of Lost, right? So like, okay. So now I'm really excited to see what they do for season 2, because I think the most important parts were knocked out of the park, because if they didn't get Geralt right, you just start over. No,
Yeah.
that's not.
Yeah.
All the characters were great. Ciri was great. What's her name? I forget her name now. The love interest.
Yennefer.
Yennefer. Thank you. Yes, Jennifer was great. Like they were all great.
Yeah, they really uglied her up for part of it, and then
Just
just turned that boat right around for the rest of
what
it.
you got to
Is
do.
all
You
I'll
got to,
say.
it's like, hey, okay, so we're gonna do the classic ugly duckling scenario, but instead, what you're gonna have to sacrifice. You're gonna have to like tear out your entrails and all that stuff. You got this, right?
But Henry Cavill is a Witcher fan, and I feel like that helped a lot. Like
Yeah.
he loves the game. He plays it on PC. Blah blah blah. I know sometimes, like for example, like sometimes they would do conventions and they would get the guy from StarCraft that played Arcturus Mansk, or so he's like an old man. He's never played. He doesn't know any. He's like, people are asking me questions about the game. I don't know anything about the game. I just went and said these lines and then left. But they're like, what is the history of StarCraft and the Zerg? And he's like.
I don't know.
So Henry Cavill is there, right? Like
Yeah, he did a great job because like what shoes to fill, man? Because people that's what when people picture Geralt of Rivia, they hear the voice actor whose name escapes me. It's like and
yeah.
Henry Cavill doesn't have that voice naturally, so we're kind of worried about it. It's like, and he's
Which
played
doesn't
Superman
matter.
before,
Yeah.
but it doesn't
Like,
matter.
is he too pretty? Is he too pretty? No.
And he took, man, those combat scenes though, that was like I love the show just for the combat scenes alone.
Yeah.
That's like, okay,
I
so they
wish
got
there
the
were more
combat,
of
they
them.
got the characters. I'm in the
Yeah.
show. This is great.
I feel like somebody was like, I have this really cool way to kill people. And I made 7 of them because we have 7 episodes. And they're like, all right, let's put all of them in the Butcher of Lavican scene, every single one, and then not kill anyone. Some of the episodes have no one die. That's one thing that never happened in Game of Thrones, by the way. There was always blood or boobs in every episode.
Well, it is HBO. That's just,
Okay.
it's,
Okay.
it's what there's an acronym for HBO that's sexual, and I can't remember what it is. It's like have boobies on,
Or
I
else. I don't remember. I don't remember.
there is, it's something.
It
It's
sounds like
something
I'm
like
finally
that.
ready to be a father.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So I think back to Cyberpunk. I think I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait on it.
You're gonna wait for the
And
next bandwagon.
I'm gonna wait
Mark
for
my
I'm gonna
words.
wait for the next bandwagon.
Mark them.
See what's going on, and it just uh, it just drives me crazy because again, I'm gonna bring up the analogy of the musician again, if that's not tired yet. It just drives me crazy when an artist does that and like reaches for the stars and gets burned by the sun, and like had they just I know this sounds silly and it's totally against what an artist does, because they want to, just do something different and crazy and ambitious, and that's what an artist is, and I get that. But if they had just made The Witcher 3 in space,
Didn't I say
this would
wasn't the last time we talked about this? Wasn't I like a lot of people are going to be disappointed because they're going to be like, it's supposed to be The Witcher in space, and I made fun of those people, and now here I am, and I'm like, it's not enough. The Witcher in space with cybernetic attachments.
I mean, think about it though. Like, and I get it. I know this is just a whiny gamer talking here, and but I am a consumer, and CD Projekt Red, like every other video game company, like every company that makes things, we consumers have a say in what we want in a product. Do we not? Now, granted,
okay.
that with some of them are a little crazy. I get that, and this might be on the crazy spectrum.
Okay.
But had they just say, all right, what are our strengths about The Witcher? Okay, let's copy paste, add on top of it, and just we'll ask around for the best kind of third/first person whatever combat people and bring them on the team and make sure that the combat is really fun because that's very important. in these games and go from there.
Doesn't we make it sound so easy to make a AAA game?
I know. That's why I said I put
Picture
the
this.
caveat beforehand.
Picture this trailer, okay? It'll be like this. There's an old saying about cyber witch hunters. They carry two guns, one for humans and one for monsters. Well, I'm here to tell you, they're both for monsters. Do you want to play that game?
You kind of sold it. You kind of sold me, because it would be kind of a play on the, hey, you like The Witcher, but this is a different game, but not really.
But yeah, and then when people play it, it's just a modded version of Witcher 3 with different with just some people have like cybernetic eyes. That's the only difference.
Dude, I mean, like I just don't
I would buy it.
I don't understand the whole like it's just I don't
Why
I don't
couldn't
get
you,
it.
if you can answer that, then you could tell me why after 20 years Guns N' Roses didn't just put out another Sweet Child of Mine, right?
Yeah.
Why not?
That's good. That's a good point. That's a good point. I was
Maybe the gods, maybe like, I think you know this about, I'm going to speak to you in the language of music because I feel like you know this
I
more than
do.
someone that doesn't like when you write a song, it's not really you writing, is it? It's like something is using you as a conduit for this thing to enter the world that needs to enter the world. And the next time something needs to enter the world, it may come through somebody else. And you unfortunately don't have any say in that because like that's why the Greeks, I guess, invented the muses because they were like, when we make art, it's not us. There has to be somewhere that our creativity is coming from because all we're doing is sitting here and these ideas come to us. It's not us. We
That's
don't have
true.
any ownership in it.
That's very true. And it's you gotta ride the wave of inspiration. And that's
That
when
world, that masterpiece, that your Witcher 3 may come and, thank the gods and the muses that it did through you. But the next time they might not be so favorable. They might not shine down on you and people get writer's block. And
well,
they're like,
I knew when this game came out that I'm going to be very weird about this game, but I just find it ironic that I here I was, when our first conversation about Cyberpunk came out, and I was all upset about the third person not being there and everything, which I still am, but I got over it and it was like, what, the game is probably just not going to be for me, and that's fine. And then everyone's going to love it, it's going to be great, and then it comes out and just all this just like, what the F is going on with this game? Because I thought I was going to be the only one in this little boat, just rowing by myself,
I'm
all
here,
alone.
Shane. I'm in the boat with you, bro. We're rowing. Maybe other people will join us after the patches and the glitches. Maybe it was all a ruse by Cyberpunk. They were like, this game kind of sucks. Let's just take some parts of it away so people think it sucks because of the graphics.
That does, what though, you touched on it a little bit earlier. It's a troubling phenomenon that in modern gaming, that a game will come out half finished and then we have to wait for patches,
They
and
make enough from pre-orders that they can keep doing that, and they'll always do that.
right. And what's unfortunate and kind of scummy in a way was because CD Projekt Red has gotten so much goodwill from its consumer base, and well deserved. People just were put a lot on faith and said, no matter what platform I get this game on, it's going to be amazing. Day one, and there might be some glitches here and there, and that's fine. I can live with that. And then it comes out, and it's just unplayable on pretty much every console. PS4 and Xbox One being the worst, and that's just that sucks. That sucks that you spent 60, especially if you got it for a gift for Christmas. Like, hey, here's this game that you wanted.
Now
I
you
spent
hate your
60.
uncle. You hate him. I can't talk to him anymore. I
Oh
spent
yeah.
50, and that's why it took so long to come, I think, because I spent 50 instead of 60. I don't know what shady Amazon dealer was sending me the PS4
And
copy. It's
here's the
because it's
other
on
thing.
PS4,
And here's the
so
other thing
whatever.
too. If you bought it digitally, you're shit out of luck. You can't turn the game back. Like
Yeah.
Sony and Xbox One will allow you to do it because they do.
No,
Microsoft has a
right
weird
now
thing.
CD Projekt Red is allowing for like a 30-day refund because so many people complain about the glitches. And what I think is funny is that everybody complained and then they were like, okay, come get your refund. And everyone was like, oh, but it might get good eventually. So
My understanding was Sony wasn't allowing because they have a weird return policy when it comes to digital
uh,
downloads. Which you know what, like I gotta defend Sony a little bit here. Now I'm sure there are ways that if you download a game, you have like a test period. Like if you play the game for 3 hours or more, I think that's what Microsoft does. That you have a time limit, and if you play the game, 3 hours or more, and that's your time limit. You can't take the game back now because, but still, like, do we not have an understanding of like it's possible to copy the game? Like that is possible. Am I right? You can download a game, copy it, return it, and say I didn't like the game or something's wrong with it,
no,
whatever.
I 100% promise you that they would never have such a policy if it was possible to do what you just said. So it's not.
So, so yeah, I mean, so again, so I think that's why Sony says like if you download the game, you have the game. You can't return it because the possibility still stands. Like it's like CD sales when CDs were popular, and burning was the thing, and so they wouldn't allow you to bring the CD back once you bought it. At least some stores did, and some stores didn't because burning was a thing and MP3s, and it's just started becoming a thing. And so you weren't allowed to bring the CD back and get your money back.
One of the reasons that happens is because Sony is, in addition to making the PlayStation, it also makes a lot of the no the best PlayStation games, which is not true for any of the other companies. On Steam, I can return Steam games because everybody wants to make Steam happy. So the people that made the game, I'm like, I don't like it or it didn't run on my machine, and Steam goes, give him his money back, and they want to make him happy. Sony doesn't have that. You're there to play God of War, which is a Sony game. You're there to
Mm-hmm.
play Tomb Raider, which is a Sony game. Uncharted, right? All of the good, honestly, all the good PS4 games are Sony games. Even Horizon Zero Dawn, which now that it's on PC, I wonder if you've gotten it.
Oh no, I haven't got it yet. No,
Okay,
I'm
okay.
actually getting back into Knights of the Old Republic 2 right now. I
That
actually just
doesn't
bought it. I
surprise
actually
me in
just
the
bought it on
least.
Steam, and guess what, man? I actually got mods on my Apple computer. I'm like, dude, this is what mods are. This is awesome,
Oh my gosh.
dude. It's great.
I have no doubt that you have found the everything that mods have to offer in terms of third person and nude views. So
I haven't got that. I haven't
congratulations.
got that crazy. It's still an Apple computer, and still, I'm not gonna be like, it's not the most powerful of machines, so I'm not gonna, go a little crazy. But
I like
I
how
did.
that was the weird part of you were like, Evan, don't be ridiculous. I'm not some weirdo. It's an Apple computer, so I can't do those things.
I can't do the crazy graphical stuff. I can't like upgrade the graphics to 4K, 8K.
Some mods, well, I shouldn't say, have you done that with Skyrim at all? Because there's people that made, like, even before the remastered Skyrim came out,
You
there were
know,
people that made photorealistic Skyrim. It's
I'm not entirely positive that I can play up to old Xbox games on
yeah,
my Apple iMac.
using the console as a threshold for how good your PC is.
So I
Yeah,
can probably
understood.
get up to maybe Dreamcast level graphics without it being crazy, and but if I go to like I might be able to pull off a PlayStation 2 or a PlayStation 3 maybe, but I think at that point I don't know if
I'm
it's going to
sorry to hear
work.
that,
But
Shane.
anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, again, that's why I buy games. You know, that's why I want to get a CD. I want to get something to collect. I want to get something to have physically, you know, because it's mine.
Yeah.
I'm not on board the digital buying thing unless I already have the game. If I already have the game, I'll buy it digitally on a different platform because I'm crazy.
Or
Um,
convenience. If it's like a $10 or $15 game that's like everybody's playing, it's co-op or something, then I'll download it because I don't want to go out and get a Switch game and have it shipped to my house. I want to play it now, so I download it.
right. Yeah, I mean, convenience is that. Yeah, that's fine too. But again, it's like I just like, what if you lose? What if you lose it? Like, what if you lose that hard drive? What if you lose, you know, the game that's I don't know, or
You're
it
signed
becomes
in when you buy
damaged.
it. That they kind of like they fixed that after Steam, because Steam had like people asked the same questions about Steam, and then they were like, well, what you're buying is a license to download and play the game whenever you want. So if your house burns down, you log into your Steam account, you still have. So everybody does digital downloads that way. You
Okay,
have to sign in to your Sony account, and they know which games you've bought.
okay,
Like, you know,
that makes sense. Okay, this is good. This is good to
yeah,
know. But
yeah.
what if you forget your account information?
Shane, I hate to tell you, you are SOL if that happens. You're
That
gone.
actually happened to me recently because I was playing Mass Effect 3 again on my old Xbox 360 and I wanted to download all the extra content, but I forgot my password to the so I had to create a new one. I had to create a
You're a
new
real nostalgia whore, aren't you?
dude, yeah.
You had to make all those decisions again in Mass Effect
I
3 that
know.
you've already made.
Dude, Mass Effect 3 actually I was going to do like a review series on it, but I thought it was just going to be too much work and too little time and then coronavirus happened and it was crazy. But after playing all three games in short succession, I'm going to go ahead and say that Mass Effect 3 is the best of all three.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to say
Everybody was
that.
mad when it came out.
I know. They were very angry about the ending,
You know
but
what one of the after effects of that was? Have you ever heard of a game called Half-Life?
I have.
So there was a really crucial moment or a critical like kind of turning point after Half-Life 2 came out. Obviously the bar was set very high. And it's in development. Development is in like it's being kicked around. Mass Effect 3 came out and everybody was so disappointed. Valve saw that and was like, we can't have that happen. And so it was like a determining factor in shelving Half-Life 3 until it never happened, because they realized that like we could make we could keep our reputation as a people that only make good games forever, or we could make something bad and ruin it completely. And so Mass Effect 3, and I should say the fan reaction of a bunch of entitled, grubby little hands reaching out to take things that they think they're entitled to, gamers, had it to do with not having a Half-Life 3.
Hey, man. You know, again, I gotta defend the gaming community a little bit on that one. I mean, it's just like, you know, you spent like the whole idea of the game, but at the same time, I also had to, there's only so many pathways that you can do. And with the, you know, the free DLC that they released after the controversy, it's fine. Like I feel like it's totally, the ending is totally fine. And I again, like the missions, the story, the characters, I feel like everything was tied up nicely. And you know, the game, they fixed the gameplay, you know, the actual combat of it was finally like, it was like the best it's ever had, the best it had been.
Are we still talking about Half-Life?
No, we're talking about Mass Effect 3. uh but
The free
yeah, dude.
DLC that fixed it. Okay, I
Yeah,
caught up to you.
they released a free DLC and it fixed the ending, and you know, you got, I can't remember what exactly the entire controversy was, but like they had uh the outcomes for different characters. They added some other, you know, story elements, story and cutscenes to like flesh out the decisions that you did make throughout the entire series. And I felt it was fine. Like I it was totally fine.
Well,
And again,
maybe this is the trick. Maybe the trick is you need to wait. You need to wait until the last DLC has been released before you get a game, and then it'll live up to your expectations. Um, so I don't know if the question would be, did you play Mass Effect when it first came out and everyone was mad, or did you wait?
I fell in love with the series when it first came out. Like I was just, and even when I beat Mass Effect 3 the first time, and had without the free DLC that fixed the ending, quote unquote, I thought it was fine. It wasn't the best ending in the world. It wasn't like a Breaking Bad situation, but it was fine. Like I felt like everything was tied up nicely, and I didn't have any qualms about it. And then I played it again with the free DLC, and I was like, okay, this is better. This is even better. This is fine. This is um
Well, it sounds like you don't just go with the flow and you have a mind of your own. That's a good thing to have. I feel like instead of reading reviews, I kind of like get the scope of how people feel about a game, and I let it influence me more than I should.
I think
'Cause
that's
there's a lot
natural
of
though.
times I disagree with the general consensus on a game. And this may turn out to be one of the cases with Cyberpunk. I may be the only one in the world that is ultimately disappointed after the last DLC comes out. And I'm gonna
Yeah,
go back to playing it after this video, as a matter of fact.
but
It's
again,
on
I mean,
TV right
but
now.
again, as a consumer, you are entitled to your opinion. It's,
I,
if you buy something on Amazon and that product doesn't do what it's specified to do for you, you have every right to complain about that product. And you have every right to return it as well. And that's
the
just
very
that's just an
the so saith Karen 2312. Right? This sounds like the speech I would give if I'm standing on the table at a restaurant. I am entitled to the food. Yeah.
I know. Again, people throw out the word entitled, and that's, I think that, people do run with that. You do get Karens out there that think everything, it revolves around them. And then they come in the store and they're like, excuse me, I didn't get this. This was
Yeah.
that, and then you get the Karen. But I
I
think
think
generally
there's
speaking, if you spend $60 on a game and expect a good product and don't get what was marketed,
uh,
then you have every right to voice like, hey, they said that we would have player choice in these situations, and I have evidence to suggest that that's not the case.
and they're like, how do you feel about it? And one of the options is maybe dot dot. And that's not the one I want to click on. We have I think I stand by one of the consensuses, which was I don't think a lot of people are going to return it, because
No.
even a 70% of a game by CD Projekt Red is still better than nothing, and it's a COVID game, so we have to escape this world somehow,
Yeah.
right?
I think that they just got trapped in it is, the pandemic, and they got trapped in, they didn't want to disappoint their fans, so they didn't want to delay the game any further, even though they should have just been honest. They should have just been like, look, the game is not ready, and I'm sorry. And, there would have been backlash. There would have been, little whiny people saying, this game is the new Final Fantasy 15, and, there would have been anger, but then the final product would have came out and would have blew everyone away, because it would have worked. The graphical issues would have been fixed. It would have worked on every single console and PC. It would give people time. It would give the developers time to work on the stuff. And just, I think this is a lesson. And hopefully, they'll learn from the lesson. I have faith that they will, because I do still feel that CD Projekt Red is probably one of the better companies out there that, does take its consumers' wants and needs at heart. Um, Regardless of what's gone on. I'll give them a little bit more, leash for that. And
Uh, can I make a closing statement?
yeah, you can make a closing statement.
Do you have you played Genshin Impact? Do you know anything about that game?
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it or played it.
I'm gonna say something that I'm the only one who's brave enough to say. No one else is brave enough to say this. Okay, that game is really creepy. It's really creepy. Listen, at first it's fun. Okay, you play it and you're like, wow, this is a spiritual successor to Breath of the Wild. And these, these elemental combat is kind of cool. The way these, and it's free. But you know how? Have you ever heard that? It's a bit by Louis C.K. where he's talking about how everybody that makes statues is a pedophile because they only ever make everybody that makes fountain statues only ever makes little boys peeing naked into things, right? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I'm talking.
So
Yeah.
the longer you play Genshin Impact, the more you get this weird sense that like whoever made the game really likes little girls, like is obsessed with little preteen girls that wear bloomers
Now,
and
hang on.
like
Is it anime?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, is that wait, is that normal? Is that totally normal?
Well, dude, it's like, dude, have you watched anime? Like the girls look, young,
Is it
even though they're
normal?
not.
Is it normal that there's like no black people at all in the game? Because I feel like that's the other. I'm not super woke, but like somebody made their fantasy world, and they completely cut out. Why are you looking at me like that? Is that
I
another?
haven't seen the game, so I don't have no frame of reference. So I've like no,
I
but I
just
think
get
that's
a,
hilarious though.
I just get the worst vibe, and
But
so
dude, dude, there are games from Japan, man, that they'll come out and it's just like, okay, this is a little, this is
you
like
you gotta
schoolgirls and stuff, and you're like,
you
people like, and then I've seen like reviews on Kotaku, like they're really seriously taking the game seriously, and I'm like, dude, what is going on here?
You
This
gotta
is rad.
enlighten me, Shane. You have to because like the fan base, the fan base of Cyberpunk is like, hey, I decided to make this choice. I decided to make this choice, and the fan base of Genshin Impact is like, I drew me and one of the lead characters walking through the park together. And I can't handle it. I can't. I cannot handle it. It's just the same girl over and over and over with different costumes. Shane, am I crazy? Did I just discover an entire genre and everybody's been holding out on me?
Dude, maybe I'm thinking like, dude, I'm what you're explaining to me is like, like I've seen games that are kind of like that. I mean, I don't play them, but I feel like there's a huge market for them.
All
It's
right.
just kind of the style. But again, I have no frame of reference, so you might be completely right, and I might just open that game up and be like, does someone need to call? Does somebody need to call Chris?
You like rifle through and you're like, who made this? Who made this?
What's his name? Chris.
Just watch them.
Where the guy's like, come and have a seat. To Catch a Predator. What's his name?
Yeah, Chris Hansen.
Chris Hansen.
Chris Hansen.
Do we need to call Chris Hansen?
You see, like the makers of the game are like Jared Fogle, and you're like, oh, okay, I see.
This makes sense.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? I take it back. It turns out there's this thing called anime, and it's just this whole vibe that just I do not operate
It's
on.
not the whole of anime. It's just like there's a cute subsection of anime that's there's an actual name for it, and I forget what it is. And
It's like playing that game is like being at a 9-year-old girl's birthday party. Like, I guess some people want to do that.
oh, dude, I was
But I
actually
don't.
watching a JonTron video, and he did all of like Frozen games. Like he did reviews of Frozen games, and there's like
Nice.
this huge, very creepy section of Frozen games where they're all like either on the App Store or they're on like some other Steam games and whatnot, where the main character Elsa is like a baby in a diaper, and it's just really weird. It's really
Shane, you better tell me which sites those are so I know which ones to stay away
dude,
from.
just go to JonTron, YouTube JonTron Frozen, and just be prepared. Like,
Deltron's funny. Yeah.
dude, and like I feel like there was like vomiting in it. Like I felt like it was just fair. It made me wonder like who the hell took the time to make this game. And did they make any money off of it? Because I think that game was free.
Anytime that stuff kind of sticks to its head out in the mainstream, and you're just like, I didn't know there was so many, people that.
This is great. This is great.
Yeah.
This is great to end on.
Yeah, it really is. I gotta go take a shower, I think, before I play my grown-up game, Cyberpunk, where I hope to romance Milady later in the game.
Give him an earful, will you?
I'll give him a real earful. Wow. How much does that sound like an old man shaking a rake at some youths down the street?
I don't think I've heard that since my grandpa was alive.
Well, it comes around again in 2277, Shane. An earful.
Oh my God. All right. Well.
All right.
That is our show.
It's been a fun one. You know what? It has been a good one.
This was a good one. I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas and hope you get all the stuff that you want. Hopefully it's not all PS5s because some people are going to be very upset.
Shane,
it's going to be me. I'm not going to get one. That's fine. That's fine. I'll get something else. I'll get a GameSpot, Amazon card, whatever, and I'll use it.
Well,
it's fine.
Excited about that.
I'll use it. All right. Everyone have a good one. Evan, thank you for doing this, and I hope you have a wonderful Christmas, and tell Leah I said hi, and I wish you all the best. And all right, so until next time, Evan, this won't be the last time we talk about this game. I'm assuming we're not done with this game yet.
We'll do it again soon, brother. Thanks for having me.
No problem.